Being weird. Oh,
Welcome, everyone, to our Resilient, Wild, and Unstoppable interview series. And today we get to talk to Julie, who is like the podcaster master and, loves podcasting in every way, shape, and form, and loves helping others. And I'm curious, Julie, what actually got you started into podcasting and getting started in that on that journey?
yeah, so back in 2020, when COVID hit, I was not working. I had to leave the last job in my previous career due to health reasons. I had a hysterectomy in the fall of 2019, so I was literally just coming out of months of recovery from that. And I couldn't get a job because I used to work in universities and they were all closed down because of the pandemic. And I'd always wanted to have a coaching business of some kind because it was part of my training in my doctorate. So I thought, I guess that's what I'll do now. So I started a career coaching business. And even though I knew how to be a coach and do that part of it, I wasn't taught any of the business side of it, like how to run a business, how to do your money and all the things. So I started taking all of those classes. And of course, I took a podcasting class. And so I really loved it. I loved kind of getting it. I'm a, lifelong learner. So I always love learning new things, how to do it. But I never really went anywhere with a podcast about career coaching because I realized it didn't excite me to sit down and talk about resumes and cover letters and all of that. So I kind of pushed that to the side and said, I just got to see if I like this, if I want to do it. What is something I could talk about? No prep any day of the week. And that is animals, is my pets, is my love of animals. And so in 2021 ish, I started working on what is now the Story of My Pet podcast. And I've had that officially for over 4 years. And as I did it more and more, I just loved it. And I love this process, the interviews. And for my background in psychology, that's something I've been doing since I was an undergrad is focus groups, interviews. So this is
Mm.
easy and this is fun. So I realized what an outlet it was for even working from home and working virtually, I still get to talk to all these amazing people. And so the story of my pet got me in it. And then as I got more and more in it, I just kind of became my whole business became about podcasting.
Yeah. And when you say your whole business became podcasting, what is it that you provide or do in your business that opens up that podcasting door?
Yeah, so I was lucky to have a few good mentors and coaches early on. I was a part of a community for podcasters that was great. It was so supportive, and we felt like our little pod family got to meet a couple times a month on Zoom. But I started realizing how helpful and open and supportive everybody was in podcasting. And I realized how much I was growing through this and that more women needed to be doing it. So that's why in 2024, I decided to fully put all the other stuff aside and just become a podcast coach and
Hmm.
help more women to become a guest and do it well, to start a show, to grow a show. So I do a variety of things from group programs to one on one to my membership community, all of which is me continuing to learn tools and softwares and how to so that I can pass on that to others and you guys don't have to spend as much time doing it. And I really do love, I'm a teacher, is what I used to do. So now I teach podcasting. And so I get to still do what I love. It's just in a totally different world. So I really love getting to watch people, especially women, kind of come out of their shell and create something. I've had a couple clients recently in the last few months, just like really, I can tell how energized and excited they are by doing it. And so I just really love it. And that's what I do now all day.
If somebody was thinking about podcasting, what are some things that would help them know if that is their next step or that is a direction that would be helpful for them to move into?
Right. So the first thing I always ask anyone who asks me about podcasting is, have you been a guest? Because honestly, that is where everyone should start. I don't want anyone to jump into a podcast without having experienced the interview process and all of that. And for me, when I first started, I did a few podcasts early on that were just for fun, that were about movies and things I love to talk about. So I could see how people did it. And I realized, oh, I do like this. I want to do it more. So I always ask first thing, have you been guesting? Have you been a guest? How much are you doing? And do you enjoy it? Because I don't want people to start a podcast if they don't even like guesting. That's a red
Mhm.
flag. And then if they have been guesting and they're starting to feel like, I want my own podcast, I want control over the content and how often it comes out and all of that, say, great. Why do you want a podcast? What do you want to happen? What do you want to do with it? Because I think a lot of people jump into podcasting without thinking about the why. And or they say, well, it's for my business, right? But what does that look like? How are you
Mhm.
going to say your podcast is quote successful? Like being strategic, because podcasting is a lot of work, time, energy, some money. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it still costs money. And I never want someone to jump into that without being really clear on their why, who it's for, and how they're going to be able to say if it's a success or not.
Yeah. And when you'd mentioned podcasting and business, it's like as somebody who I do these interviews because I love learning about people, but I don't think of it as like a business benefit. I think of it as something fun. So what
Mm-hmm.
are the business benefits of having a podcast?
Well, the first one I say, even if you're just guesting, is networking. I have had referrals to clients, referrals to speaking opportunity, collaborations come through being a guest. Because, like you said, guesting, we're getting to know each other. Do we
Mhm.
vibe together? And then you're like, oh my God, I would love to do this with you. Let's do a workshop together. Let's do a summit. Or I have this that you could come speak to my group. So, networking is a big one. And for me, networking and referrals were the primary places I get my business, whether it's through my free events or paid. They all come from people I've networked with or people who've referred them to me. So that's important. And you do that too when you have your own. When you have guests on, you're networking, you're building relationships. But really, when you talk about podcasting, it's also about visibility, because podcasts help you become visible to people that you probably wouldn't have been in front of on social
Mhm.
media. They're not on your email list. So it really is being introduced to new people, to new potential clients. And then the big thing is when you're visible, just like I've been talking about, is I'm talking about my business. I talk about what I
Yeah.
do, how I help people, why I do it, and why I love it. So you're also kind of establishing your expertise in what you do. And the more podcasts you're on, the more, oh, well, she must really know what she's talking about because all of these people have had her on their podcast, right? And so it is about visibility, it is about credibility, and it's also about expanding your network.
Yeah, and you have me swirling ideas around in my brain just from what you were just saying.
Yay.
So um, now that might be a topic for later
Yep.
outside of this interview. And with the networking, that has me thinking about your community
Yes.
and how your community ties in with the podcasting and the networking. So
Right. So
yeah.
when I decided to go all in on podcasting, I decided that one of the things I didn't see a lot of were spaces for women in podcasting. So,
Mm,
there isn't a category that you can put on your podcast that says this podcast is for women, right? Or we're talking about women's topics. And it's not that I don't love my bigger communities like Podfest and all of those, but women podcast differently. We talk about different things than men do. We talk about things differently. It is a different vibe. And I really wanted to create a space for women to come and learn together, but also to feel safe to ask questions they may think are stupid or silly. It's like, no, we're all starting off where we're starting off, right? We don't
mhm.
know what we don't know. So I created the Women's Podcaster Party networking events that I host every month, and anybody can come. You don't have to be a guest or a podcaster yet. It's just a space for women entrepreneurs to meet each other, to connect, to learn. And then I love having friends who are experts in different areas of podcasting come in and share their story or have live Q&As so people can learn from them also. And from those networking events, I started realizing, okay, people want a little more support. They want a little more accountability. And
Hmm.
so almost a year ago from that, I created my Podcast Your Story membership community. And every month I do deep dive workshops, group coaching, strategy sessions, whatever people need, so that I can continue to help them along, their podcast process.
Which is important as somebody that I know helps people start their podcast because I have friends that have, reached out to Julie and have started their podcast, and I've actually interviewed on those podcasts. So thank you, Julie.
Love that. Love that cyclical relationship.
Yes. And with that, what else do you want to bring up to the community that maybe I just haven't thought of the right question to ask?
Right. When I started last year doing group launch programs, what I found was people were asking questions others in the room hadn't thought of, but they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad you asked that. I didn't even think of that. Right. And so when you have a group mentality of learning and growing together, you're all
Mhm.
supporting each other's growth. And so I really love hosting group events like that really allow everyone to learn from each other because we're all doing podcasting differently. That's what's great about it. You can do it however you want. But it's also changing. There's a lot of tech. There's always new things. So I try to keep up with that so that I can share it instead of everyone having to always have to be on the know of what's new in podcasting every day.
Yeah, and you've had some fantastic guests that appear in your networking events and your teachings and trainings. So it has been super powerful just being a part of that.
Thank
So
you.
I know I appreciate them.
Well, and one of the reasons I love podcasting is I have found it as a community. People are very open and welcoming to like, sure, you want me to come talk to your people about something?
Mhm.
I've had Alex who founded Podmatch come in. I've had Dave Jackson, who is the founder of School of Podcasting and works with Podpage. I've had people from Buzzsprout and RSS.com, which are hosting platforms. All of these people are, maybe considered big names, but they're very approachable. They answer emails. They say, sure, I'd love to come let your people ask me questions or share some tip or new tool with them because it really isn't competitive. It's very, supportive and community based. So I love kind of bringing that into my smaller community so people can feel that.
Yes. Awesome. This has been a fabulous interview, and I want to thank you. And any last words?
I just want to tell anyone listening or watching to this to think about if you've been feeling an urge to share something, to do something that's a little out of your comfort zone, whether that's podcasting or maybe writing a book. I've learned to just tell people listen to it and try it. Don't think it has to be perfect. I learned by doing. I started messy, unedited, and I've learned and grown so much through the process that, it's better to try and realize you don't want to do it than never to try it.
Yep, which is what I'm doing now. I'm
Yep.
trying it in a whole different way.
And Kat has always been the one in all of my meetings that says, I'm never going to have a podcast. And I'm like, girl, you have a podcast.
Yes, and some people have actually called that, called it that.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you bringing me in on your new adventure, too.
So thank you so much, Julie. This has been fun.
Thank you.